So you want to jump into the whole smart home thing, but you just don't know where to start? Or maybe you just need some ideas for your current smart home to take it a step further. Well, come join us on our journey of a new DIY smart home series. Let's go. So before we jump into the house and do our assessment and everything, let's go ahead and break down a few things, especially for some of the newcomers. You might be familiar with the so-called quote unquote smart home, but in most cases, those are just really a remote controlled smart home that you have to control with your phone and tell it to turn on lights on and off with your voice, etc. A true smart home is going to be one that makes decisions and changes lights or turns things on and off based on whether you're present or current conditions, and is truly adding smarts to the home. And then you're trying to tell your significant other, hey, go use this or use this camera or use this app. It's pretty cool. But then you have to install 10 different apps on their phone, and you see the eyes glaze over of like, well, how is this better? Well, there is a product that just brings it all to one device, one app, and brings it all into one spot so you can drive all your automations. And it's Home Assistant. And you may be thinking, well, it's got to be expensive, right? Absolutely not. It is a free product and open source and is developed and added to new features and evolved every day by a big group of people. And that's just the way open source products work. And the good thing is the project is evolving at a very quick pace and making things better every day. Now, the only side thing to that is sometimes some of these tutorials that these YouTube video guys do, well, sometimes the steps get shorter and then they can get confusing. But we'll try to leave all the links and guides down below and try to keep things relevant as we move along through this process. And so with Home Assistant, you'll hear us call it HAS.io, and really HAS.io is just what is flashed to the Raspberry Pi, and we'll get to that a little bit later as we move through this. It's just a real simple software installation that goes straight on the SD card in the Raspberry Pi. Now, there are other places you can run Home Assistant on. There's such as Unraid servers, which is what I use myself. There's Proxmox, there's Linux. There's several other different types of places you can run Home Assistant on, which is very cool because it's very flexible and it kind of fits everyone out there. So in this series, we're going to start off with doing an assessment of the new home. It does have some smart home products in it already, and we're going to try to bring those into Home Assistant, as well as we're going to do several other projects throughout as the homeowner learns a little bit more about Home Assistant and gets their feet wet. And that's usually when the wheels start to turn of like, hey, I want to do XYZ. Or wait, I did this. Well, I want to do that. Well, that's the cool thing about Home Assistant. You can make it yours and make it fit exactly what your needs are. Now be sure and leave us a comment down below if you've got any ideas or if you want to see us do different projects, or maybe we're just doing one wrong and you have a better way. Definitely share it with us. We'd love to do it, and maybe it'll make an additional episode in these DIY smart home series. So let's go jump into the home and check it out. So in the first room, we do have some smart lights, but we do have the typical issue of the light switch having to stay on at all times. And then once you turn it off, then of course you can't turn the light bulb back on using your voice assistant. Then we also need to address this. So we're probably going to end up moving the Wi-Fi router and the switch and everything, and we'll move that into the wiring closet and tidy all this up, hide all the wires. The only thing we can't move is this right here, which is the AT&T ONT, and we'll have to leave it here, but what we'll end up doing is a small patch cable straight from the ONT to the wall jack and go into the wiring closet. So let's take a look at the wiring closet. So currently we have a NVR for some cameras. We have power already ran in here. We're replacing the shelf, a little wider shelf. We'll put our hub, which will end up being HAS.io with a Raspberry Pi 4 and then we'll run all the network jacks into here. So one of the issues that Hunter did talk about was with this light switch here, it does control the lights in the walk-in area, but the issue is once you walk all the way over here,
there's no switch to turn it off at the end of the hallway. You have to go back to the front to turn it back off.
So the issue is this actual light switch does not have the ability to control the walk-in lights. So the only way to turn them back on is you have to walk all the way back to the entry door to turn them back on. Just a weird design of how they did the electrical layout here. So what we'll end up doing is we'll go ahead and put a smart switch here, and we'll probably do a long press action to turn those lights back off once you come in the door. So some of the other integrations we'd like to do, and why we've chosen Home Assistant, is we can bring all the different applications and everything straight into one app, and we can use a lot of the pre-existing equipment the smart home already has, such as the Google Nest Hub here. We can be able to utilize that. As well as for the kettle, we'll be able to use the smart plugs here, and we'll do that with ct-tuya-convert and bring that in using MQTT.
Ideally, in the pantry, I would like to have this to be automated every time I open it, because I reach in and you have to flick the light switch every time. So
what I was thinking for this one is we'll put probably at the top area, we'll put a Y sensor for a door, and we'll do a smart light up top. That way we don't have to replace the switch, and we'll have the switch. It goes against what we say of using a dumb switch with a smart light, but if you had the light automatically turn on when the doors open, the user will not be reaching for the light switch. So for the laundry room, we have an electric dryer, and we're going to do one of the automations to do the voice notifications when the dryer cuts off. We possibly may do that with an SCT clamp on the dryer itself, or possibly on the breaker panel using a full home power monitoring. Now on the alarm system, it's currently not being used, but we'll look at integrating using the various door sensors and motion sensors as well. Currently, the homeowner is using a
Nest alarm that uses the door sensors above the door.
Which, of course, as we know with Nest, they've kind of walled off doing some of the integrations. So we'll look at addressing that possibly. We'll look in the panel for the alarm system and see if we could possibly do an integration straight into Home Assistant, say using Alarm Decoder or the InvisiLink, potentially based on which alarm system this is. So also another option that we could use in the alarm system is we could look at the connected system and just use the pre-existing wiring and put the connected board straight into the system itself.
As we walk into the garage, be able to turn on the light as it automatically opens the door, and be able just to walk in and have the light be on, because there's no way to turn on or off the light outside of the garage inside the laundry room. So oftentimes I would like just to be able to leave and have the light turn off behind me.
So what we probably could do, given it is just a simple button for the garage door opener, we could do an automated garage that would go off the car presence, and once it opens the garage door by itself and the car leaves and it closes the door. And we'll probably look at either doing a type of reed switch or possibly even just throw a Y sensor, since it's real simple to do and no wires to run to attach to the garage door itself to know if it's open or closed. So we should be able to, there's existing power on the ceiling and plenty of space up top, and put the ESP attached to it along with the relay to push the door button. So for the heating and cooling, there currently is a Nest thermostat. And of course, as we all know, Nest decided it was not going to be an open system, and so we may not be able to integrate the Nest system in, and we probably could replace it with a different thermostat such as the ecobee or some of the various other ones that allow you to bring it into Home Assistant. And of course, in the house we do have some UniFi access points that we will be leaving as is, and we'll bring the controller and use it for presence detection in Home Assistant itself. So for the bathroom, we do have a vent and some lighting. Simple 2 switches. We'll replace both switches so we can do some fan automations, and potentially with the shower area, we'll put a humidity and temperature sensor that will drive the automations to turn on the fan automatically. So for the toilet closet, if you will, there's a light switch as well as a switch for the vent. And we could do an automation in here that would do automated lighting as well as would drive the fan and turn the fan off a few minutes after the door is closed. We'll probably do that with some automations with Node Red as well as a Wise sensor on the door and some motion, and try to feed it all in together using some Node Red magic. So in the closet next to the shower, I'm thinking in here we're going to do just a smart bulb possibly. If not, we may also do a smart light switch that would do based off some automations from motion, or again with the door sensor itself using again a Wise sensor. Since they do work reliably and pretty easy to do. Yeah, you could do the motion sensors.
Because sometimes these are left open, so.
It's up to you whether we want to feed that in. We just got to think about it, how it's going to be done. And you really got to think about how you're doing and using things. You don't want to change what you're currently doing. You just want the smart home to go on top of what you're currently doing, allow it to make decisions for you.
Right.
So in the front room with the aquarium that's currently going in, we also have the other Unify access point that covers the front of the house as well as the front yard area. Again, we'll be bringing that into the presence detection using the controller and Home Assistant. It's currently just 2 smart bulbs in here, and we'll look at possibly replacing it, the switch to control the light using the wall. So to start out, we're going to be using, of course, the Raspberry Pi 4, along with our favorite little flirt case that has the heat sink inside to keep it cool. And a lot of the smart bulbs were already purchased. They are the low-highs LED bulbs that we like. We'll be converting those with ct-tuya-convert and probably flashing either Tasmota or ESP Home on them, as well as using again, the Martin Jerry dimmers to do the dimming for the lights. And of course the Martin Jerry switches. We're going to go all with Martin Jerry dimmers and switches in the home and keep it the same switches without mixing and matching things. And we'll also be installing the battery backup in the wiring closet to control everything and keep constant power during any storm power outages or whatever. And we will be attaching the USB cable from this one to HAS-IO so we can get the updates and everything for the actual battery power. Very important. Definitely spend the money on a battery backup. No matter what brand you get, just protect your investment and use some battery backups, even if you have the best power in the world. So that wraps it up for the first episode of the DIY Smart Home. Be sure and check out future episodes and help us evolve things. And if you see we're doing something wrong or you see us doing something right or whatever it might be sure and leave us a comment down below. We're looking to evolve this series and just take it one step at a time on converting this house to a true smart home. So I appreciate all the Patreon subscribers. It definitely helps bring projects and new products to the channel each week, such as these. And definitely give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever it might be. That's your preference. Hit that subscribe button if you're not a subscriber and that bell icon, and y'all take care. But the issue is...
there's no... well,
shit.
you have to restart.
Why is it doing this? What the hell?